Please enjoy the following conversation between two beautiful men who speak only in the simple present tense using only general truths. Today is a beautiful day. Yes, it is. You know what though? It smells like fish out here. You're right. It's strange too because we don't even live near the water. I don't even like water. Do you like water? Oh yes, I love the water. And I enjoy the smell of fish. Oh, my tea is too hot. You're an idiot. Some people are idiots. Are you mad now? No, I'm just sad. You're beautiful. I'm sorry. It's okay. You're beautiful too. So you may have heard that a general truth refers to something that is true now and is always true. This doesn't really work for me. I like to break down general truths into their four most common uses. I find that general truths are very useful for sharing observations, sharing facts or opinions, sharing your likes or dislikes, and sharing traits and states. When we share an observation, we share something that we notice around us. Here are some examples from the conversation. Today is a beautiful day. It smells like fish out here. Oh, my tea is too hot. When we share a fact or opinion, we either share something that we know to be true, for example, the sky is blue, or we share an opinion, something that we believe or feel. Cats are wonderful. Here are a couple examples from the conversation between the two beautiful men. We don't even live near the water. You're an idiot. Some people are idiots. General truths are also helpful for sharing what you like and what you dislike. Here are some examples from the video. I don't even like water. Do you like water? Oh yes, I love the water. And I enjoy the smell of fish. Finally, general truths are very useful for sharing your state or a trait. Your state being how you feel or how someone feels. I feel very happy right now, or I am happy. A trait being how something or someone is. I am blonde. You are beautiful. Both of these tend to use the to be verb. Here are a couple examples from the conversation. Are you mad now? No, I'm just sad. You're beautiful. I'm sorry. It's okay. You're beautiful too. So there you go. Those are the four most common uses of general truths that I find helpful in understanding what they are. Any questions? Yes.
Hey, Robert. I like to tell people that I am rich, but I am actually not rich. Is this still a general truth?
Technically, we would still consider this a general truth, although maybe we should change it to general truths, lies, and opinions. Good question. Oh, you.
Hi, Robert. Is my question a general truth, even though it's a question?
Good question. Yes. All of these can be turned into negative statements or questions. That's all for now. Please enjoy the following conversation, which includes mostly habitual actions in the simple present tense. Hey, what do you do for fun? I play the guitar. What about you? I kick things. What do you do for work? I teach English. And you? Oh, I sell hair. You sell hair? Yes, sir. Where do you get the hair? Well, some people just pull it out. It's a bad habit. Huh. Do you have any bad habits? Yeah, I have this one that's pretty bad. What is it? I eat grass when I'm nervous. Like grass on your lawn? Usually the neighbor's grass. Yeah, that's pretty bad. I know. I try to make up for it though. Every Sunday, I bring her cookies to apologize. Well, that's nice. By the way, can you come over tonight? We have game night on Fridays. Sorry, not tonight. I groom my turtles once a year, and tonight's the night. Okay then, maybe next time. So, you might have heard that habitual actions are things we do over and over again. I find that habitual actions are useful for talking about our hobbies, our habits, our scheduled routines, and what we do for work. As you probably know, hobbies are things we do for fun or to relax. For example, he plays video games or she makes tables. Here are a couple examples from the conversation. What do you do for fun? I play the guitar. What about you? I kick things. Habits, on the other hand, are things we do over and over again without thinking about very much. They can be good habits. For example, she exercises. Or they can be bad habits. For example, he smokes cigarettes. Here are some examples from the conversation. Where do you get the hair? Well, some people just pull it out. It's a bad habit. Huh. Do you have any bad habits? Yeah, I have this one that's pretty bad. What is it? I eat grass when I'm nervous. Scheduled routines are the things that we do over and over again that we have planned. For example, I work Monday through Friday, or I go to art class every Saturday evening. Here are some examples from the conversation. Every Sunday, I bring her cookies. We have game night on Fridays. I groom my turtles once a year. Finally, we can use habitual action to talk about what we do for work. Here are some examples from the video. What do you do for work? I teach English. And you? Oh, I sell hair. So those are the 4 ways we use habitual actions that help me to remember what they are. Any questions? Yeah.
Hi, Robert. It only shows since every 5 years. Is this still habitual action?
That is a good question, and yes, even if you do something every 5 years, every 10 years, as long as it is happening consistently, we consider it a habitual action because it happens over and over again. Any more questions? Okay then. So in part 1 and 2 of this series, we learned 8 common ways the simple present is used in English. These were divided into general truths and habitual actions. Now, 9 out of 10 times, this is how we use the simple present tense. If you haven't seen those videos yet, stop this video now, go watch them, come back. But if you're ready to learn some top secret ways of using the simple present tense that you can brag to your friends about, the next 2 videos are for you. Are you ready? Hold on. Make sure no one else is listening. Okay. You can use the simple present tense to tell stories.
Whoa, time out here, buddy. I was told we tell stories in the past tense because they already happened.
I know it sounds crazy, but just hear me out. Imagine that you are fast asleep in your bed.
No, I'm not. I'm right here. And what's with the dumb hat?
I took a nap and my hair doesn't look good. Just, please, pretend. Give me a chance.
Fine.
So you're asleep in your bed. It's a cold night. Rain patters against the windows. You're in a deep sleep wrapped in your blankets, when suddenly you wake up to a loud thud. You're terrified. No one else should be in the apartment. You live alone. You hear it again. This time, it's closer. You tremble in fear and begin to sweat as it comes closer and closer and closer. You want to run and hide, but it's too late. The bedroom door swings open, and then you see it. The simple present is in your room, and it's telling you a story.
Ah, that was awful.
I know, I'm sorry, but it worked, right?
Yeah, I guess so.
So as you can see, we sometimes use the simple present tense to tell stories. We don't do it very often, but we sometimes use it to give stories a sense of immediacy.
Immediate what?
Immediacy. It feels like the story is happening, or I should say, happens right now.
Wow.
Pretty cool, right?
But wait, that's not all the simple present. The last line was, and it's telling you a story.
Yes, you're right. Good observation. When we tell stories like this, we usually mix the simple present with other present tenses, like the present continuous. This is the same as when you mix past tenses with regular stories. Take this joke I found on readersdigest.com, for example. Two regulars are sitting at a bar when one of them casually points to a couple of drunks sitting across from them and says, "That's us in 10 years." His friend turns to him, takes a sip from his beer, sets it down and says, "That's a mirror."
Very funny.
I know, but see, I opened with the present continuous.
Two regulars are sitting at a bar.
Hold on. That one guy said, that's us in 10 years. Isn't that the future? How does that work?
We sometimes use the simple present to talk about the future.
This is getting out of hand.
I know, I'll explain, but that's for the next video.
Oh my goodness.
The point is, we sometimes use the simple present tense to tell stories.
Whatever.
In the next video, I'll teach you how to use the simple present tense to give instructions and to talk about the future.
You're crazy.
Hey there, English learners. I'm Robert, and today we're using the simple present tense to give instructions and talk about the future. Robert teaches English. Hello?
Hey,
What? What do you want me to do?
get up. Get out of bed. Go to the kitchen. Open the cupboards. Make a sandwich. Eat the sandwich. Go to the door. Open the door. Go outside. Walk to your car. Get in your car. Start your car. Turn your car off. Get out of your car. Walk back to your house. Open the door. Go inside. Find your cat. Pet your cat. Go to your room. Go back to bed.
We use the simple present tense to give instructions or tell people what to do.
Find your cat. Pet your cat.
When we do this, there's actually no subject in the sentence, although the implied subject is you, the person being instructed. The fancy word for this is the imperative mood for all my fancy pants students out there. This is pretty straightforward. Now, watch this video in which two men use the simple present tense to talk about the future.
Hey Bob, you leave tomorrow morning, right?
Isn't tomorrow Wednesday?
No, tomorrow is Thursday.
Oh, then I leave tomorrow afternoon.
What time?
My plane departs at 2 p.m.
When do you get back?
I get back on Sunday at 4. Why?
I'm busy later, so we can't hang out.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's okay. I love you.
We sometimes use the simple present tense to talk about the future. We do this to talk about events that are already planned
Oh, then I leave tomorrow afternoon.
or events that have a regular timetable or schedule.
No, tomorrow is Thursday.
Most of the time, we use the simple present tense to talk about the future. We include a time phrase of some sort. Tomorrow, tonight, next week, for example. This is because if we don't include a time expression, the listener will assume we are talking about a habitual action. If I say, my sister starts work at 8, the listener might think that my sister starts work at 8 every time she goes to work, which is a habitual action. And you can learn more about that in my video about habitual actions. My sister works at 8 tomorrow would be much clearer. The listener knows I'm talking about when she starts work tomorrow. Specifically, tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
As you can see, we do use the simple present tense to talk about the future as well. Now, were there any questions? Yeah.
Hi, Robert. My cat is very hungry every morning. Can I say my cat is hungry tomorrow?
Good question. No, this is not something we would say in English. Even though your cat feels hungry every morning, this is not a planned or scheduled action. We don't use the simple present tense to talk about future feelings. Hunger is a feeling of sorts, a state of being. What you could say instead is, I feed my cat tomorrow morning. Maybe someone asks, can you come to breakfast? No, sorry, I feed my cat tomorrow morning. Although, that's not a very good excuse, and you should go to breakfast with your friend.
Hello?
Hey, what's up, Bob?
Oh, hey.
What did you do today?
Oh, not much. I ate dried fruit. I talked to my cats. And I drank some beer. How about you?
I went to work. Did you lose your job?
Oh, yeah. I lost my job about 6 months ago.
Wow, I didn't know. How did it happen?
Well, I went to work like any other day. I walked into the building, and when I got there, everyone looked at me like I was crazy, and I was confused, but then I looked down and saw that I didn't have pants on.
So they fired you?
Yeah, so they fired me.
That's too bad, Bob. Sorry that happened.
It's okay. I deserved it. Anyway, I have to go. My mom texted me just now.
Okay, bye.
Okay, bye.
We use the simple past tense to talk about what happened before now. We use this for actions
I ate dried fruit. I talked to my cats.
and states or feelings.
And I was confused.
Now, keep in mind that we still use the past tense even if something just happened, even a moment ago.
My mom texted me just now.
Because most stories are things that happened before, we use the simple past tense to tell stories.
How did it happen?
Well, I went to work like any other day.
Of course, when telling stories, we usually mix the simple past tense with other past tenses. More on that in another video. And that is about it. The simple past tense really is quite simple. Any questions?
Hi, Robert. If someone asks, "What did you do today?" why should I answer in the past tense? Isn't today the present?
Good question. We use the past tense because the did in what did you do today is the past tense. The person wants to know, what did you do today before now? If you have any more questions, please comment below.
Hey, Rupert.
Yeah, Bob?
Hey, I was wondering, if you had a pet lobster, what would you name it?
Oh, I would call it Ernesto. What would you name it, Bob?
If I had one, I might name it Acid Face.
Why would you call it Acid Face?
Well, you know, their faces are very red.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Oh, Rupert, I wish I had one now.
Well, if you ran to the ocean right now, maybe you could catch one.
If I just took one from its home, that would be wrong.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
We sometimes use the simple past tense to talk about hypothetical situations. A hypothetical situation is one that we pretend is true. We can use the simple past tense to talk about what would happen or what we might do in the imagined situation. Now, even though we use the simple past tense, the fancy name for this is the second conditional for all my fancy pants students out there. You know who you are. These can be situations we wonder about or contemplate.
Hey, I was wondering, if you had a pet lobster, what would you name it?
Or things or situations we wish for.
Oh, Rupert, I wish I had one now.
When we use the second conditional, we include an if statement,
If you ran to the ocean right now,
followed by a could,
maybe you could catch one.
would,
That would be wrong.
or more rarely, might statement.
I might name it Acid Face.
These form complex sentences, and as you might know, we can switch the dependent clause and the independent clause if we'd like. For example, if I spoke, I could say this. Or I could say this if I spoke. For wishes, however, we use the form subject, wish, past tense statement. I wish I ran faster. My brother wishes he had 11 fingers. You wish you made more money, don't you? So as you can see, we sometimes use the simple past tense to talk about hypothetical situations. Any questions?
Hey Robert, can I say, if I became an astronaut tomorrow, I would go to Mars, even though it's in the future?
Good question. Yes. Yes, we can. We can use the second conditional to talk about present or future situations.
Hey Robert, after dinner, my wife frowned and said, "If only you cooked better meals." Is this also the second conditional?
That's another good question. Yes. This is another way of saying I wish. When we use if only, it means we wish something and we are sad or regretful that it is not true. For example, if only I fed my turtle before I left. We can also combine this to make a complex sentence. If only I fed my turtle before I left, he wouldn't be so angry with me.
I'm loving this song right now.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it too. What are you thinking about?
I'm thinking about a beautiful unicorn.
Oh yeah? What's it doing?
He's brushing his beard. Now it's doing push-ups. Oh no! Now it's hitting itself. And now it's just blinking. Oh man. Okay. It's going to bed now. Good night, little unicorn man.
Yeah, good night, unicorn. I'm glad we're hanging out, Sandy.
I'm having fun. Are you having fun?
Yeah, Sandy. I'm having a great time.
We use the present continuous tense to talk about what's happening right now. I like to break this up into two parts: activities and emotional experiences. When we talk about activities, we talk about the actions that are taking place right now. For example, I am teaching you English right now. You are watching my video. Here are some examples from the conversation.
He's brushing his beard. Now it's doing push-ups.
When we use the present continuous to talk about actions, we refer to actions that will end soon. I am teaching you English, but I won't be teaching you English for a very long time. This video will be finished in 5 minutes or so. If we talk about a very short action that only takes a moment, for example, I am snapping, we don't think of one snap. The listener assumes I am snapping over and over again. Here's an example from the conversation.
Oh no! Now it's hitting itself. And now it's just blinking.
We also use the present continuous to share our experience of these activities or situations. We will often use the verb have in the form having.
I'm having fun. Are you having fun?
Yeah, Sandy. I'm having a great time.
Sometimes we can do this with other verbs as well.
I'm loving this song right now.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it too.
Now keep in mind when we say something like this, I'm loving this movie right now. Oh, I'm loving your hair. This is technically not okay in English. Many teachers will tell you we can't change feeling verbs like love into the continuous form. In real life, however, we do it all the time. Just keep in mind that it is not formal language. You wouldn't want to use this sort of language during a job interview, for example. If you do want to use feeling verbs in this way, just make sure you are talking about your experience in a situation or in an activity. There's a big difference between I'm loving this movie and I love this movie. If you love the movie, this is a fact. This is your opinion of the movie that you already have and that may never go away. I'm loving this movie means you are enjoying what you are seeing in that moment. Maybe you will decide by the end of the movie you didn't like it that much. So there you are. Those are the two ways we use the present continuous to talk about what's happening right now. Any questions?
Hey Robert, my toast just fell on the ground. Can I say I'm hating my life right now?
Good question. Yes, you can. Just remember, this is not formal language, but if the experience of dropping your toast makes you hate your life for a few moments, this is perfectly fine. And I hope that you will stop hating your life soon. Make some more toast. It will be okay. Now for practice, I want you to tell me what is happening around you. What are you doing? Answer in the present continuous in the comments below, along with any questions you have for me. In the next video, we will use the present continuous tense to talk about what's happening in our lives. In the following conversation, Natalie and Rupert will speak using mostly the present continuous tense to talk about what is happening in their lives.
Hello?
Guess what?
What?
I'm writing a book.
Oh, that's great. What is it about?
I'm writing a book about everything I know since I know everything.
How are you feeling about the process?
I'm really enjoying it, thanks. What's happening with you?
I'm helping Bob find a job.
How is that going?
I'm having a difficult time. Bob is making it very hard.
How so?
He keeps forgetting to wear pants to his interviews.
Oh, that Bob.
Uh-huh.
He's always forgetting pants.
Yeah, he's constantly half naked. By the way, are you still working at that gym?
Yeah, I'm working there evenings for now, but I'm writing in the mornings.
Maybe I'll come in sometime. I'm working out every day now.
Good for you.
Good for us. I'm working out every day. You are writing every day. We are the best.
You're right. We're doing really well.
We can use the present continuous tense to talk about what is happening in our lives. We can also talk about activities and emotional experiences. The difference is, when we talk about what is happening in our lives, we talk about a longer activity, usually a project of some sort. For example, I am writing a book, or I am building a house. These are activities that are going to take a long time. I might not be hammering a nail into wood right now, but if I tell you I'm building a house, it means I started building a house and I will continue building a house until I am finished. It's happening in my life. Here are a couple examples from the conversation.
I'm writing a book.
I'm helping Bob find a job.
Just as I explained in my last video, we can use the verb have in the form having to talk about our emotional experience or our emotional reaction to the projects we are doing in our lives.
I'm having a difficult time. How are you feeling about the process?
I'm really enjoying it, thanks.
So those were both examples of long-term projects. There are 3 other ways we use the present continuous to talk about what's happening in our lives. Temporary situations, new habits, and finally, uncontrollable habits. Let's talk about temporary situations. While a project might be building a bird nest or writing a book, a temporary situation is one that we think will probably not last. For example, I am working at the hardware store. Maybe I don't like working at the hardware store.
No.
So I'm hoping to work somewhere else as soon as I can. Here is an example from the conversation.
By the way, are you still working at that gym?
Yeah, I'm working there evenings for now.
We also use the present continuous to talk about new habits that we have. I might tell you, hey, good news. I'm doing yoga every evening now. When we usually talk about habits, we use the simple present tense. I might say, I do yoga every evening. The meaning of this is a little different. If I say, I do yoga every evening, the listener will assume that this is something I have been doing for a long time. This is a habit that has been a part of my life for a long time. But if I say, hey, guess what? I'm doing yoga every evening, the listener will assume that this is a new habit and one that I am hoping to make a long-term habit. Here are some examples from the conversation.
But I'm writing in the mornings.
Maybe I'll come in sometime. I'm working out every day now.
Good for you.
Good for us. I'm working out every day. You are writing every day. We are the best.
Finally, when we talk about what's happening in our lives with the present continuous, we can also talk about uncontrollable habits. Usually, this is a habit that someone else is pointing out that you do not have control over, or the person does not have control over. For example, you're always leaving the bathroom door open. You're constantly forgetting your car keys. You're constantly screaming at me. Please stop screaming at me. When we use the present continuous to talk about these uncontrollable habits, we will often use words like always, constantly, forever. Here are some examples from the conversation.
He's always forgetting pants.
Yeah, he's constantly half naked.
And that is about it. Those are the 4 ways we use the present continuous to talk about what is happening in our lives. Any questions?
Hey Robert, the other day my friend said I'm running a marathon, but she wasn't running a marathon. She was just sitting on the couch. Was she lying to me?
That is a good question. I don't think your friend is lying to you. I think Your friend is going to run a marathon in the future. Maybe she will run it in a month or in 3 months, and she was letting you know this will happen. And I know that is the future, but we can use the present continuous to talk about the future. You can learn about that in my next video, as next time we will use the present continuous to talk about the future. In the following skit, Rupert and Bob are going to use the present continuous tense to talk about the future. Take a look.
Hello?
Hey.
Oh, hey, Bob.
Hey, Rupert. Are you coming over tomorrow?
No, Bob. I'm not coming over tomorrow. We are in quarantine, remember? I'm not going anywhere tomorrow.
Oh yeah, my bad. I guess I'm playing video games alone tomorrow.
I'm sorry, Bob. I know we had plans.
It's okay, I understand. Are you still coming over for Christmas in December?
If things are back to normal by December, yes. I am coming over for Christmas, and I am bringing all the cookies.
Oh, that's wonderful. I love you, Rupert.
I love you too. Bye-bye.
We can use the present continuous tense to talk about future plans or arrangements.
Are you coming over tomorrow?
This means that we already planned what we are doing. We already know about it. In the skit, Bob and Rupert already had plans to play video games together.
I guess I'm playing video games alone tomorrow.
I'm sorry, Bob. I know we had plans.
If this sounds familiar, it's because we can also do this using the simple present tense. For example, I could say, I work tomorrow at 9 a.m. If you haven't seen that video yet, I'll leave a link in the description below, and I'll make a link up here as well. So there are 3 main differences between when we use the present continuous to talk about the future and when we use the simple present to talk about the future. First, if we use the simple present to talk about the future, it's usually something that will happen very soon. For example, I leave for Montana next Saturday. If we use the present continuous tense, we can talk about things that are happening soon.
I'm not going anywhere tomorrow.
But we can also talk about things way in the future.
Are you still coming over for Christmas in December?
Also, if we cite a specific date or a specific time, it's more likely that we will use the simple present tense. For example, tomorrow at 6 p.m. I have dinner with my girlfriend's parents. But with the present continuous tense, we are less likely to state a specific time or date. We might instead say, I'm having dinner tomorrow with my girlfriend's parents. We leave out the 6 p.m. there. Again, you can use either one for either scenario, but it's more likely that we will use the simple present if we state a specific time, and if it is not a specific time, we will use the present continuous tense. Finally, we can use the present continuous tense to talk about something in the future, and we don't have to say anytime. For example, I'm running a marathon. I'm obviously not running a marathon right now. I'm talking about the future. But when am I running a marathon? I didn't tell you. And that's okay. I don't have to tell you. With the simple present, however, we cannot do this. I can't say, I run a marathon. It just doesn't make sense. So there you have it. Those are the ways we use the present continuous to talk about the future. Did you have any questions?
Hey, Robert. I know I will live in America next year. Can I say, I am living in America next year?
That is a good question, and no. we would not normally use the present continuous for this. This is because when we use the present continuous to talk about the future, we talk about a shorter action or a shorter activity. Living somewhere is more of an ongoing state, an ongoing situation in your life. It would be better to use the simple future tense. I am going to live in America next year, or I will live in America next year. Or even the future continuous tense. I will be living in America next year. But that's for another video. Hello?
Robert, I need your help.
What is it?
It's the present perfect tense. I don't understand it. I'm afraid.
The present perfect tense is nothing to be afraid of. And you shouldn't be afraid of it either. I should start off by saying one of the big problems students have with the present perfect tense is how to form it. So make sure to watch the video on how to form the present perfect tense first. I'll leave a link up here and also one in the comments below.
Well, how do I use it?
Well, there are 4 main ways we use the present perfect tense. In this video, I will teach you the first way. We use the present perfect tense to answer the question, how long?
Wait, are you filming this?
Of course I am. Now, Natalie, how long have you loved me?
I guess I've loved you since I met you.
Natalie, that's very sweet. And good job, you used the present perfect tense. When we use the present perfect tense to answer the question, how long, we are talking about an unfinished action. Natalie, this means you loved me when you met me, and you still love me. We can use the word since to talk about this. Tell me again when you started loving me, Natalie, but tell me the year.
I've loved you since 2014.
Good. So since is used if we say the starting day, time, year, but we can also use for to say how long, how many years, how many days, how many hours. Natalie, you have loved me since 2014 and it is now 2020. So you have loved me for 6 years.
It's true, I have. How long have you known?
I've known since January and it's June now, so I've known you've loved me for 6 months now. How long have you been afraid of the present perfect tense?
I've always been afraid of it. I guess I've been afraid of it forever.
Well, now you don't have to be. And you don't either. Just remember that when we use the present perfect tense with since or for, we usually use stative verbs.
Stative what?
Stative verbs. They are usually thinking or feeling verbs such as love, want, know, or believe. But they can also be other verbs like live or have. I'll make a video about stative verbs and put it in the description for you and also up here. But Natalie, that is about it. That's how we use the present perfect tense to answer the question, how long?
Okay, thanks. I feel a little bit better now.
Bye.
Okay, bye.
Did any of you have any questions for me?
Hey, Robert. My dad said he has kissed my mom every morning since 1962. Can he say that even though kiss isn't a stative verb?
Your dad sounds very sweet. And yes, if we use a habitual time phrase like every day or once a week, we can use a non-stative verb. Very good question. Now for practice, I want you to answer this question. How long have you lived in your city? Answer in the comments below, along with any other questions you had for me. In my next video, I will teach you how to use the present perfect tense to answer the question, have you ever...
Okay. Have you ever kissed a large animal on the mouth?
Well, I'm not sure how to answer that, Ashley.
It isn't complicated. He should answer in the present perfect tense.
I have kissed my cat. Does that count?
Not big enough.
Then no, I have never kissed a large animal on the mouth. Have you ever seen a ghost?
Well, yeah, of course I have. Haven't you?
Actually, I have. I have lived in the ocean, you know. There are many ghosts in the ocean, Ashley. I have seen ocean ghosts. Have you seen ocean ghosts before?
No, but I have seen lake ghosts.
You've done a lot, Ashley.
Yeah, I have had many impressive experiences.
We can use the present perfect tense to answer the question, what have you done? When we use it like this, we talk about life experiences.
Have you ever seen a ghost?
These are often accomplishments or things we are proud of.
You've done a lot, Ashley.
They are things we consider to be defining experiences. They are a part of who we are. By asking someone, have you or have you ever, we get to know them better based on their experiences. They may even impress us.
Yeah, I have had many impressive experiences.
Speaking of which, have you liked this video and subscribed to my channel? If you have, consider me impressed. Of course, we can also talk about things we are not proud of, or things that we have done that we are ashamed of, and that we chose to learn from.
I have lied to my mom before, and I will never do it again.
We commonly use the words ever, never, and before when we use the present perfect tense like this.
Have you ever kissed a large animal on the mouth?
Then no, I have never kissed a large animal on the mouth. Have you seen ocean ghosts before?
All of these words are used to accent or emphasize what we are saying. I could tell you, I haven't been stung by a bee. And if you don't believe me, I will reassure you. No, really, I have never been stung by a bee. Never, ever, ever. This is actually my favorite way to use the present perfect tense for two reasons. Number one, we can use it to get to know people better. Number two, we can actually play a fun game with it that helps us memorize irregular past participle verbs. Memorizing these verbs is something almost all of my students have trouble with. I'm going to make a video teaching you the game next week, and you will actually play the game with me and my wife. If you're watching in the near future, I will leave a link to that video in the description and up here. Now for practice, I want you to answer this question. What is one thing you have done that you are proud of? Answer in the comments below, along with any other questions you have for me. In part 3 of using the present perfect tense, you will learn to answer the question, what have you done so far?
Hello?
Hey, Rupert.
Oh, hey, Bob. What's up?
I feel good. I have already completed half of my goals for the day. Have you completed any goals, Rupert?
Actually, I haven't made any goals this week. I'm proud of you, though. What have you done so far?
Well, my goals are to brainstorm business ideas, and I have already come up with 10 business ideas so far.
Are you starting a business?
I am. As you know, I recently lost my job, and I have cried at least 100 times this month. I don't want to cry anymore, Rupert.
I don't want you to cry either, Bob.
Well, I'm taking things into my own hands.
Good for you. What's the best business plan you've come up with so far?
So far, my favorite idea is to become an independent journalist.
We use the present perfect tense to answer the question, what have you done so far? A lot of students get confused by so far, as it sounds like a great distance.
I ran 100 kilometers today.
Wow, that is so far.
However, this meaning of so far is actually until now.
What have you done so far?
When we use it like this, we talk about something we have done during a period of time that is still continuing now. We also use an unfinished time word, such as today, this week, this month, this year.
I have already completed half of my goals for the day.
Be careful not to use a finished time word, such as yesterday or last week. We cannot use finished time words in the present perfect tense. It is common to talk about a specific number of things we have done when we use the present perfect tense like this.
I have already come up with 10 business ideas so far.
Here's another example. Let's say you and I are eating pizza together. I could ask you, how many slices of pizza have you eaten so far? This means I am asking you how many slices you ate starting from the beginning of our meal. You could answer, I have eaten 3 pieces so far. This means you ate 3 pieces starting at the beginning of our meal, and you still have a chance to eat more because our meal is still happening. It is also common to use the word already when we use the present perfect tense like this.
I have already completed half of my goals for the day.
Or we can use the word yet in a question or negative statement. And that's how we use the present perfect tense to say what we have done so far.
Hey, Robert, I heard Bob say he was going to take things into his own hands.
Well, I'm taking things into my own hands.
What things was he talking about? Whose hands were they in? What does that mean?
Good question. This is an idiom.
Bonus idiom.
When we take something into our own hands, it means that we take control over something in our lives that was not in our control before. Maybe it was in someone else's control. In Bob's case, he is going to start his own business, so he will be in control of whether or not he works. I have just finished filming a skit that will teach you to use the present perfect tense to to say what has just happened.
Hey guys, so I've just witnessed what looks like an evil monkey wandering around my apartment, and I would normally run, but I've recently eaten a cheeseburger, and I don't think I could run. Luckily, I don't believe it has seen me yet. If I'm just quiet. Oh, come on. Oh no. Hey guys, so I've just spotted the monkey again. So I'm hiding in this shoe closet now, and as long as I'm quiet enough, I don't know if he'll spot me. But I do fear for my life. My guess would be that this monkey has already killed over 700. Oh no. Oh no.
When we use the present perfect tense to talk about what has just happened, it is common to use words like just.
I've just witnessed what looks like an evil monkey. So I've just spotted the monkey again.
Or recently, when we do this.
I've recently eaten a cheeseburger.
I've just shown you an example from the skit, but this is also an example. I have recently showered, so I smell wonderful. We can also use the present perfect tense with yet to make a negative statement about something that we think we will do soon or that we think will happen soon.
Luckily, I don't believe it has seen me yet.
I haven't finished this video yet, but I will soon. That is, unless you have any questions.
Hey Robert, do we always have to use words like just or recently when we use the present perfect tense like this?
In the United States, it is more uncommon to use the present perfect tense in this way without words like just or recently. For example, if I saw a ghost and you asked me, "What happened?" I would say,
I saw a ghost.
We usually use the simple past tense. However, in British English, it's more common to use this without those sorts of words. If a British person saw the same ghost, that person might say,
I've seen a ghost.
What have you been doing recently? Have you been wondering how to use the present perfect continuous tense? Well, good news. Today, I'm going to teach you how. Listen for the present perfect continuous tense in the following skit. Then I will teach you how we use it.
Hey, Rupert.
Hey, Bob. What have you been doing today?
Oh, I've been babysitting Ashley's baby boy. How about you?
Actually, I've been thinking about you all day. That's why I called.
You're a good friend. Thanks for calling.
Of course. I heard you were attacked by a monkey.
Yeah, there was a crazy evil monkey in my house, but I got away. I've been meditating lately, and it really helps me cope with the incident.
Well, I'm glad you have been working through it. By the way, why have you been babysitting Ashley's son so much?
Ashley has been going to get pumpkin spice lattes lately, and it takes her an hour to drive to get them.
Wow, that's nice of you, Bob.
Well, you know, I really love this baby boy. You have been studying love for a while now, Rupert, right? How long have you been studying love?
Well, I have been studying love since I was about 7 years old. I've been studying love for almost 20 years now.
Oh, cool.
Why do you ask?
I've been having some trouble lately. Maybe you can help.
I hope Rupert can help Bob with his love troubles. Anyway, let's talk about the present perfect continuous tense. Before you go any further, make sure to watch my videos on how we use the present continuous tense and the present perfect tense. We use the present perfect continuous tense in a lot of the same ways as those two tenses, so it's important that you watch those videos first. I'll leave a link for them in the description for you. We can use the present perfect continuous tense in three main ways. We can talk about what was happening or what we were doing until now. We can talk about how long we were doing something or how long something was happening until now. Or we can talk about new or temporary habits or situations. When we talk about what was happening until now, we refer to a certain period of time up until now, the moment that we speak.
What have you been doing today?
Oh, I've been babysitting Ashley's baby boy.
When we use the present perfect continuous tense like this, we might be done with the action, or we might not. If I tell you,
Man, I'm so tired. I've been working all day.
I might still have work to do and I might continue working after I take a rest. But I might also decide that I have worked enough and I will stop working. The action doesn't have to be finished. It does, however, have to be an action that makes sense in the continuous form. And if you don't know what I mean by that, make sure to watch my videos on using the present continuous tense. We can also talk about how long something has been happening or how long we have been doing something using since or for in the same way that we use the present perfect tense.
How long have you been studying love?
Well, I've been studying love since I was about 7 years old. I've been studying love for almost 20 years now.
This is incredibly similar to how we use the present perfect tense, and in a lot of cases they can be used interchangeably. I could say, I have played the guitar for 7 years, or I could say, I have been playing the guitar for 7 years. The meaning is essentially the same. Another example would be, I've lived on the moon since 1994. Or, I have been living on the moon since 1994. Just be sure to watch out for stative verbs. I could say, I've been bald for 6 years, but I could not say, I have been being bald for 6 years. If you aren't sure what stative verbs are, make sure to watch that video as well. Again, I'll leave a link in the description for you. Finally, we can use the present perfect continuous tense to talk about new or temporary habits or situations. This is very similar to the way we talk about habits and situations in the present continuous tense.
I've been meditating lately.
Why have you been babysitting Ashley's son so much?
Ashley has been going to get pumpkin spice lattes lately.
And again, we can use them interchangeably a lot of the time. For example, I'm eating cat food every Tuesday. Or, I've been eating cat food every Tuesday. One difference is with the present perfect continuous tense, we could use the word recently, but we wouldn't want to use the word now. For example, we could say, I'm doing yoga every day now. Or, I've been doing yoga every day recently. But we wouldn't normally say, I'm doing yoga every day recently, or I have been doing yoga every day now. No! This is very uncommon and sounds a bit odd. The meaning can also be slightly different. If I tell you, I'm running a mile 5 times a week this month. I'm telling you my plan for the month. I started at the beginning of the month, and I'm going to continue this until the end of the month. If I say I have been running 5 days a week this month, it implies that I started at the beginning of the month, but maybe it wasn't a plan. Maybe I don't plan to continue it until the end of the month. I still might, but the implication is not there as much. It does not emphasize that this is a plan for the whole month. What were you doing today? Were you thinking about learning the past continuous tense? Well, good news. Today, I will teach you how to use it. Listen for the past continuous tense in the following skit, then I will teach you how we use it.
Hello, Bob?
Hey, Amar. You live in Egypt, right?
Yes, you know that.
What were you doing last night at 2 a.m.?
At 2 a.m.? Oh, I was just sleeping, Bob.
Are you sure you were sleeping?
Yes, Bob. Why? What happened?
Well, as you may know, it was 6 p.m. here. Children were dancing, people were walking in the streets, and I was stirring a pot of soup when suddenly I had a vision.
What happened in the vision?
In my vision, you were flying around your neighborhood. You grew wings and everything.
Oh, that's very interesting. But I assure you I was just sleeping, Bob.
Right. Hey, Amar, do you remember my pet turtle?
Sure, I remember.
Now that thing was always sleeping.
It was constantly unconscious.
Yeah, what a silly little turtle. Anyway, Amar, call me if you have any dreams of flying.
I will. Goodbye, Bob.
Bye.
We use the past continuous tense in pretty much the same way that we use the present continuous tense. So if you haven't watched my videos on how we use the present continuous tense, make sure to go back and watch those first. I'll leave a link in the description for you. Of course, when we use the past continuous, all of those things are moved into the past, one step backwards. Think about it this way. I am tapping my nose. Now I am rubbing my head. But a few seconds ago, I was tapping my nose. This is the past tense version of answering the question, what are you doing right now? Instead, you're answering the question, what were you doing then?
What were you doing last night at 2 a.m.?
At 2 a.m.? Oh, I was just sleeping, Bob.
When we use the past continuous in this way, we can refer to a specific time, but it means that the action started before that time and that the action continued until after that time. For example, I was rubbing my nose about 30 or 40 seconds ago, and that action continued. It was continuous. Again, I go into much more detail about this in the present continuous series. Just like with the present continuous tense, we can still talk about what we were doing not at a specific time, but in our lives in a bigger time. For example, a year and a half ago, I was recording an album. It took me a long time to record that album, but that is what was happening in that time. That was a project I was working on. A year ago, I was planning my wedding. It can be for smaller projects as well. Yesterday, I was writing videos. Again, just like with the present continuous tense, we can use the past continuous tense to talk about habits.
Do you remember my pet turtle?
Sure, I remember.
Now that thing was always sleeping.
It was constantly unconscious.
It's common to use words like constantly. For example, when I was a kid, I was constantly rubbing my lips, and my mouth was always red because of it. We can also use adverbs of frequency to talk about these habits more specifically. In the year 2014, I was eating donuts every single day. There is one way that we use the past continuous tense that we don't use with the present continuous tense, and that is setting up a story or setting up the main action for a story.
Well, as you may know, it was 6 p.m. here. Children were dancing, people were walking in the streets, and I was stirring a pot of soup when suddenly I had a vision.
When we do this, we tell the listener or the reader what was happening before the action started. It was the summer of 2012, and Bob had lived alone since 2003, for almost a decade. He had never spoken to a woman before, but that was about to change. A knock came at his door. Bob opened the door to see Sandy. Up until now, Bob had only been speechless one other time in his life. The first time he ever witnessed the beauty of the mighty elk.
Hey man, I can't find my beanie. Did I throw it through your window?
Bob hadn't yet regained his ability to speak, so instead he waved hello to the stranger.
Hi man, can you hear me?
Finally, Bob spoke.
Oh, yes, I can hear you. I'm Bob.
Oh, hi Bob, I'm Sandy.
Luckily, Bob had just cleaned his apartment, so he invited Sandy in to look for her beanie. She told him that she had never lost her beanie before. Bob told her that he had always wanted a hat, but that beanies didn't suit him. After some time, they forgot what they were doing. The two found themselves listening to music and spending quality time with Bob's cat. Somehow, Bob was wearing a hat and Sandy had on a brand new beanie. Since you have seen my videos on the present perfect tense, you probably recognize the way that the past perfect tense was used in that story. We can use it in the same way, answering the same 4 questions. How long? Using since or for. It was the summer of 2012, and Bob had lived alone since 2003, for almost a decade. What had you done until now? He had never spoken to a woman before. She told him that she had never lost her beanie before. What had you done so far until now? Up until now, Bob had only been speechless one other time in his life. Bob hadn't yet regained his ability to speak. And what had just happened? Luckily, Bob had just cleaned his apartment. So if all of these uses are the same as the present perfect tense, what's the difference? It's pretty simple. The difference is all of these actions are shifted into the past. Picture it this way. I have flown on an airplane over 10 times in my life. When I was 10 years old, I had never flown on an airplane. Think about this image anytime we use the past perfect tense. Just shifted into the past in a story. This is why I used a story as my example. It is the most common way that we use the past perfect tense. It's one of the best ways to set up action or give background information about a setting before the main action happens in a story. It gives background information. This is information that helps the listener or the reader understand the characters and what is happening before the main story or the main action begins. He had never spoken to a woman before. When we learned that Bob had never spoken to a woman before, it prepared us for how nervous he felt when he met Sandy. It gave us background into his character. What would your life be like if you had never learned English? What could you have done if you had learned English at an even younger age? These are questions in the third conditional using the past perfect tense.
So, you're worried that you scared Sandy away?
Yeah, I'm worried that I scared her away. If I had never told her how I felt, this never would have happened.
You're right, but if you had kept it a secret, maybe you would regret it now. You would have never given it a chance.
Maybe, but maybe if I had waited, I could have planned a speech or something. I don't feel like I presented myself well. I think I was creepy. If I had just given it more time, I could have planned what I was going to say.
Well, it isn't too late, Bob. You can still do it. You can still plan a speech and tell her.
Maybe I will, Rupert. Maybe I will.
We can use the past perfect tense to form third conditional statements. To do this, you take an if statement in the past perfect tense and you combine it with a could have statement.
Maybe if I had waited, I could have planned a speech or something.
What could you have done if you had learned English at an even younger age?
If I had just given it more time, I could have planned what I was going to say.
Or a would have statement.
But if you had kept it a secret, maybe you would regret it now. You would have never given it a chance.
What would your life be like if you had never learned English? In the present perfect tense. If I had spent more time on this video, I could have taught this concept even better. When we do this, we talk about a hypothetical situation in our past. We imagine what could have happened or what would have happened if we had done things differently or if things had happened differently. If I had asked you earlier to subscribe to my channel, you would have subscribed to my channel, but I guess you'll just have to subscribe now. We can also suggest that something in the past caused something else to happen by using a negative statement.
If I had never told her how I felt, this never would have happened.
Bob is saying that telling Sandy about his love for her caused the awkward situation between them. If I hadn't eaten enough food earlier, I wouldn't have been able to make this video. I'm suggesting that eating caused my good mood and helped me to make this video. Listen for the past perfect continuous in the following story, and then I will teach you how we use it. Bob had been thinking about calling Sandy for many hours. Since that morning, in fact. It had been raining most of the day, but when the clouds dissipated, Bob felt it was time to make the call. However, when he finally called, she did not answer. She was on a walk, and she hadn't been taking her phone with her when she left her house. Bob felt defeated. He had been building his courage for so long. It seems like Bob just can't catch a break. That's an idiom, by the way.
Bonus idiom.
To catch a break is for things to go well when they haven't been going so well. Anyway, let's talk about the past perfect continuous. Just as with my video on the past perfect tense, I told you a story because storytelling is the most common way that we use the past perfect continuous tense. It is most often used in conjunction with the past perfect tense to set up a story before the main action takes place. We can use it in all the same ways as the present perfect continuous tense. We can use it to talk about what was happening or what we were doing until now. In the story, it had been raining most of the day. We can talk about temporary or new habits in the story, or at that time, she was on a walk and she hadn't been taking her phone with her when she left her house. And we can talk about how long we were doing something until now, using for. Bob had been thinking about calling Sandy for many hours. He had been building his courage for so long. Or since that morning, in fact. Again, now is now in the story, at that time in the past. Just like with the past perfect tense, in order to conceptualize, in order to understand the past perfect continuous tense, just think about the present perfect continuous tense and shift it into the past, into that story that you are telling. Think about it this way. I have been consistently making videos for this channel for about 6 months. 6 months ago, I had been making videos here and there, but not consistently. What will you do today? Will you eat a delicious pizza? You can answer both of these questions using the simple future tense. Listen for the simple future tense in the following skit, and then I'll teach you how native speakers use it to talk about predictions and plans.
Do you know why I'm here?
Of course. I'm Know-It-All Natalie. I know it all, and I see it all.
Okay, so I am going to write a speech and I will present it to Sandy. Will she like it?
She will not. Because you are not going to write a speech.
I'm not?
No, that's too awkward. You are going to write a letter.
Okay, so is she going to like my letter?
You tell me. Look into the crystal ball and you will see.
Okay, so she's going to receive my letter. And she's going to eat a grapefruit. Then she will fall asleep on a chair.
Exactly.
But will she read my letter? How will she feel? What will she say?
You will know after you write the letter.
Okay, and when am I going to write the letter?
right now.
We can use the simple future tense to talk about predictions. Predictions are things that we believe will happen or that we think are going to happen. We can talk about predictions by using will.
Will she like it?
She will not.
Or be going to.
You are going to write a letter.
Okay. So is she going to like my letter?
When we make predictions, we can either predict a specific action.
She's going to eat a grapefruit.
Or we can predict a future truth, idea, or feeling.
Will she like it? How will she feel?
In this sense, we can use the simple future tense to talk about general truths, the way we use the simple present tense. If you haven't seen my series on the simple present tense, make sure to watch that as well. I'll leave a link for you in the description. But when we use the simple present tense to talk about general truths, they are things that are true in this world now. I could say something like, cats don't fly. That is true. They don't fly. But I could also talk about what I believe or predict will happen in the future. For example, in 50 years, cats will fly. Some of you may have been given wrong information in your classes. There are some ESL teachers who teach that will is used to make predictions, while be going to is not. This is not true. While it is certainly more common to use will to make a prediction, as you saw in the video, we can use be going to as well. Just keep in mind that when we use be going to make a prediction about the future, we usually have some sort of evidence that that thing is going to happen. In the skit, Bob had a crystal ball.
Look into the crystal ball and you will see.
She's going to receive my letter.
That was his evidence. And of course, predictions don't have to be so mystical. In fact, they're usually not. I'll give you a different example. I predict that you are going to finish this video because you're having a great time and you're already learning a lot. It's common, of course, to qualify your predictions with words like think or believe. I said, I believe you are going to finish this video. I predict. That way I don't sound overconfident. But you could also be a little bit more cocky. I could say something like, you're still watching. You're going to finish this video and you are going to subscribe. We can also use the simple future tense to talk about our plans or our intentions. Just as before, we can use will or we can use be going to.
I am going to write a speech and I will present it to Sandy.
Now, with these two, you might have been told the lie that we only use be going to for things that we already planned. And again, as you saw in the skit, that's simply not true. We can use either will or be going to. It is a lot more common to use be going to, and if you do use will to talk about a plan that you already have, it comes across as a bit more intense, as if you are reminding yourself of this plan or reminding the person you're telling about your plan. This is because will is usually used to talk about a decision that we have just made. For example, oh, this is showing too much skin. I will button the top button there. I'm going to talk more in detail about the difference between will and be going to in a separate video. And once I've posted that video, I will leave a link for you in the description. In the meantime, you have now learned how we use the simple future tense to talk about predictions and plans. So do you have any questions?
Hello Robert, this is Mahmoud from Mahmoud Zidane English for All channel. We should like it when you visited. I know we can use be going to in a sentence like we are going to eat dinner at 6 p.m. But can we also say we are eating dinner at 6 p.m.?
That is a great question, and the answer is yes, we can. This is an example of how we can actually use the present continuous tense to talk about the future. The next video will teach you how we use the simple future tense to talk about promises, requests, offers, and refusals. Oh, hello there. I'm learning about how we use the simple future tense to talk about offers, promises, requests, and refusals. Will you join me? Come on. I promise you, we'll have a great time. It would be best to start with some examples, so let's take a look at how Bob uses the simple future tense in his letter to Sandy.
Dear Sandy, the last time I tried to share my feelings, I made you very uncomfortable. I'm sorry. I promise you it will not happen again. For this reason, I will write you a letter so you can read it comfortably. You will not have to look at my face. I will also not even share the depth of my feelings. Just know that I like you and I am attracted to you as more than a friend. I just want to have a short date. Will you give it a chance? I'll buy you coffee, or tea, or even a piece of pie. I'll get you whatever you want. I'll take you wherever you want. I promise when we get there, I will be courteous and casual. I won't try to kiss you. I won't even try to hold your hand. I will say nice things about your appearance, if that's okay. Will you go on this date with me? Please write back and let me know. I swear I won't cry if you reject me. Even if you say, "No, I won't go on a date with you. I will never go on a date with you. You are a doofus." I will understand your position, and I will respect your response. That is all. Sincerely, Bob.
If you're a new viewer, or you forgot to subscribe last time, make sure to click the like button and subscribe for more videos like this one. And if you've been watching for a while, please consider becoming a patron. If you make a monthly donation, you can gain access to exclusive videos, posts, and other perks. Okay, let's talk about Bob's letter and his use of the simple future tense. Now, the first thing I noticed was that Bob was only using will in his letter and not be going to. This is actually called volitional will for all my fancy pants students out there. You know who you are. Let me give you a quick vocabulary lesson about the word volitional. So if we do a good old internet search of the word volitional, we will get this definition. Relating to the use of one's will? So the will in this definition is not the verb will that we use in the simple future tense. It is actually the noun will. So if we do another quick search of the noun will, we'll get this definition. Or I can simplify it for you. Our will, or someone's will, is what a person wants and desires. So when we talk about volitional will, it means will being used in relation to wants and desires. We can use volitional will to make an offer.
I'll buy you coffee, or tea, or even a piece of pie. I'll get you whatever you want. I'll take you wherever you want.
When we make an offer to someone, we let them know we are willing to do something for them. Does that make sense? If not, I will give you another example. You see what I did there? We can use volitional will to make a promise.
I promise you, it will not happen again. I won't try to kiss you. I promise when we get there, I will be courteous and casual. I swear I won't cry if you reject me.
This is even stronger than an offer. We're not just offering to do something, we are making a commitment to do something. We can also make a commitment to not do something with a negative form. I promise you, I will not fall asleep while teaching this lesson. We can also make a request.
I just want to have a short date. Will you give it a chance? Will you go on this date with me?
This is when we are asking someone if they are willing to do something for us. This can be a very formal request. Will you marry me? Or it can be more of a casual invitation. Will you join me? Finally, we can refuse to do something.
No, I won't go on a date with you. I will never go on a date with you.
This means we say no. We use will not or the contraction won't. This is usually in response to someone's request, but not always. Do you need an example? Too bad. I won't give you one. Oops, I just gave you one. Anyway, I feel like I learned a lot. Now we know how to use the simple future tense to talk about offers, promises, requests, and refusals. I think my job here is done. Unless you had any questions?
Ha! Totally. Oh, hey, Robert. I don't mean to be rude, but you completely skipped be going to. Can we not use be going to in this way? Or are you just being lazy?
That is a good question, and maybe I was being a little bit lazy, but only because the answer is not that clear. The answer is yes, but not really. Let me show you some examples, and you'll see what I mean. Will you marry me?
Yes, I'll marry you.
This is the common way you would ask someone to marry you. Seems normal, right? Let's look at be going to. Are you going to marry me?
Excuse me?
So, as you can see, that woman was a bit confused being asked in that way. This is because using be going to like this, we're not actually making a request. We don't really make formal requests with be going to. Instead, he was asking her about her plans or her intentions, as if to say, so are you planning on marrying me? This would be a weird question to ask out of the blue. If they had not discussed marriage before this, it would be a very confusing question. Will you marry me?
I'm not sure. Let me think about it.
So, are you going to marry me?
No.
And I covered using be going to for plans and intentions in the last video, so make sure to watch that if you haven't already. I'll leave a link in the description for you. Alright, let's move on to promises. I promise I will take out the garbage. Okay, will seems pretty normal, right? Let's look at be going to. I promise you, I am going to take out the garbage. Okay, that seems pretty normal too. So I would say, yes, we can make promises with be going to. The meaning is a little bit different. Again, when we say be going to, it's implying that this was already a plan. It's more common to use will for a decision that was just made, so perhaps he was agreeing to take out the garbage after, the point, and when he responded, I promise I am going to take out the garbage, there's more of an implication that he had already planned to do that, and perhaps he just needed a reminder. Let's look at offers. You look cold. I'll grab you a jacket. Yep, as always, using will is the normal way to make an offer like this, so nothing weird there. Let's try be going to. You look cold. I'm going to grab you a jacket. Okay, so this is fine, and people certainly do this, but it's a bit different from saying, I'll grab you a jacket. Since we have that implied plan or intention, it's almost as if the cold man sitting on the couch doesn't have a choice. The other man is going to grab him a jacket whether or not he wants it, even if he refuses. For this reason, it would actually make more sense if things went like this. You look cold. I'll grab you a jacket.
That's okay. I'm fine. I'm not cold.
Yeah, I'm going to grab you a jacket. Here, he started off by offering with will, or I'll grab you a jacket. And then after the cold man refused, and clearly he was a cold man, the other man decided he was going to get that jacket anyway. He had made that plan in his mind, and he was going to get it for him, even if he refused. Maybe he thought he was being too polite. So again, for both promises and offers, we can certainly use be going to, but there's a bit different of a meaning. It's more of an intention, more of a plan in both cases. Let's look at the final example of refusals. I will not babysit your cat. That's flat out no. That's how we refuse. I will not babysit your cat. I won't babysit your cat. Let's look at be going to. I'm not going to babysit your cat. Okay, again, this does work, but it's a bit different, and it implies, again, a plan or an intention. So here, it almost seems as if someone had asked him to babysit the cat before, he said no, and then they came back again and said, are you sure you won't babysit my cat? At which point he had to assert himself and tell him his intentions. No, I am not going to babysit your cat. So to answer your question, yes, we can use be going to in all of these situations, but it doesn't have the same meaning. So I wouldn't go so far as to say there's such a thing as volitional be going to. Does that answer your question? Well, I hope I didn't bore any of you to death with that explanation, but it's important to know these things. Hey there. If you watch this video, you will learn how to use the simple future tense to form first conditional sentences. Listen for the simple future tense in the following skit, and then I will teach you how we use it to form first conditional sentences.
Hello, Sandy?
Hi, Bon. I read your letter.
And?
If you keep things calm and casual, like you said, I will go on one date with you.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Bob?
Yes, Sandy. If we go on this date, I'm going to make sure you're comfortable.
Cool, man.
So, what would you like to do on the date?
Let's just take a walk. I want to see the world.
Okay, we can do that. Just to remind you, it is rather cold. What will we do if it is very cold?
If it's very cold, we'll bundle up.
Okay, great. And what are we going to do if it rains?
If it rains, we'll bring umbrellas.
Oh, okay. If I bring an umbrella, a big umbrella, for both of us, will you share it with me?
Yeah, man. And if it snows, we're going to build a snowman. Man.
Wow. You've already planned this out very well, Sandy.
You know, I guess I have. So we'll see you tomorrow morning?
Yes, you will, Sandy. Bye for now.
Bye, dude.
If you're new to the channel, make sure to like and subscribe for more videos like this one. As you can see, we can use the simple future tense to form first conditional sentences. The first conditional is all about cause and effect. If A happens, then B will happen. A causes B. If I let go of this owl, it will fall to the ground. When we form these sentences, we start with an if statement in the simple present tense.
If you keep things calm and casual, like you said,
followed by a simple future tense statement.
I will go on one date with you.
We can also switch these around. For example, this owl will fall to the ground if I let go of it. We can do this with will.
If it rains, we'll bring umbrellas.
Or be going to.
If we go on this date, I'm going to make sure you're comfortable.
The difference between the two is subtle, but if we use will, it implies more of a decision that we are making as we speak.
If it's very cold, we'll bundle up.
By the way, bundle up is an idiom.
Bonus idiom.
To bundle up means to dress in warm clothes or even to cover yourself in blankets to keep warm. On the other hand, if we use be going to, it implies more of a plan that we decided on before speaking.
And if it snows, we're going to build a snowman. Man.
Wow. You've already planned this out very well, Sandy.
For this reason, people usually use will to ask about a new situation that will happen soon.
Dad said he might make moose soup tonight.
If he does, what will you do?
I'll just leave. I'm not eating moose soup.
And people will use be going to ask about something that will happen soon, but that we already knew about.
Well, honey, I'm going to find out if I got the job tomorrow.
If you get it, what are we going to do to celebrate?
If I get the job, we are going to dance all night, baby.
I say usually because in most situations you can use will or be going to and it won't cause any confusion. These are not rules, just observations of common use. So don't get hung up on whether to use will or be going to in these situations. By the way, hung up is an idiom.
Bonus idiom.
To get hung up on something means to worry about it or think about it or stress about it more than you should. There's no reason to worry about will or be going to when forming the first conditional. In my next video, I'm going to explain in great detail the differences between using will and be going to. What are you going to do today? Will you learn about the simple future tense? In this video, I will teach you when to use will and when to use be going to. There's a lot of misinformation about when we should use will and when we should use be going to. So let's break this down into 4 main categories. We have decisions, predictions, facts, and OPRR, which means offers, promises, requests, and refusals. Let's start with decisions. There is one main difference between using will for decisions and be going to for decisions. When we use will, it implies that we are making the decision at the same time that we are speaking.
Oh, you're hungry? I'll make us some lunch.
On the other hand, when we use be going to, it implies that we made the decision before speaking.
I know you're hungry, but don't worry. I'm going to make us pizza for lunch.
This is how we usually use will and be going to talk about decisions, and this is how you should use will and be going to. I have heard some speakers use be going to talk about a decision at the same time they're making it. However, this can be awkward in a lot of situations. Take, for example, if someone knocks on the door.
Don't worry, I'll get it. Don't worry, I'm going to get it.
It would also be very uncommon to use will for a decision that we already made before speaking. And in most scenarios, it would be very awkward.
I know you're hungry, but don't worry. I will make pizza for lunch.
In this case, it just sounds as if Bob decided to make the pizza right then and there as he was speaking. So to summarize decisions, use will if you make the decision as you are speaking. Use be going to if you already made the decision before speaking. If you're going to follow any of the rules that we learn in this video, this is the one you should follow. Now for some fun, let's move on to predictions. The rule for predictions states that we use will for a prediction based on an opinion, and we use be going to if you make a prediction based on facts. However, I don't agree with this at all. Let me show you with some examples. We'll start with an opinion-based prediction.
You know what, son? I think you'll win that race tomorrow.
Oh, jeepers, Dad. Thanks.
You know what, son? I think you're going to win that race tomorrow.
Oh gosh, Dad. Thanks.
Both of these are completely acceptable, and I hear native speakers using both versions all the time. Okay, now let's take a look at a prediction based on facts.
Son, you're competing against 7-year-olds. You will win that race tomorrow.
Gee, Dad. I guess you're right.
Son, you're competing against 7-year-olds. You are going to win that race tomorrow.
Heck, Dad. I suppose you're right.
Again, both of these examples work just fine, and again, I hear native speakers using both versions all the time. So to summarize predictions, you can use will or be going to. It doesn't matter. Let's move on to future facts. So the rule that you might hear for this one is that we use will for future facts, but that we can't use be going to. And again, I do not agree with this at all. It's simply not true. I don't know who came up with these rules, and hopefully your teacher's not teaching them to you, because they're simply not true. We can certainly use will and be going to for future facts. Let me show you with some examples.
Son, I know you're upset that you lost the race to those 7-year-olds, but don't worry. This will pass. The sun will rise tomorrow. You will still be my son. I love you. Son, I know you're upset that you lost the race to those 7-year-olds, but don't worry. This is going to pass. The sun is going to rise again tomorrow. You are still going to be my son. I love you.
As you can see, both examples work just fine. Finally, we have OPRR. Again, that's offers, promises, requests, and refusals. And the rule for these is that we should use will and not be going to. And as you may have guessed, I don't agree with this rule either. Although, I agree with it a little bit. Let me show you.
How about this? I will give you $50 for one night of babysitting.
That sounds okay, but last time you didn't pay me. I don't know if I can trust you.
Bob, I promise I will pay you. Will you do it?
Okay, fine. I'll do it for $50.
Great. Will you do it for $30?
No, Ashley, I will not do it for $30.
You're the worst.
So, this obviously works. We followed the rule. Now let's see what happens if we try to use be going to.
How about this? I'm going to give you $50 for one night of babysitting.
That sounds okay, but last time you didn't pay me. I don't know if I can trust you, Ashley.
I promise I'm going to pay you, Bob. Are you going to do it?
Okay, fine. I'll do it for $50.
Great. Are you going to do it for $30?
No, Ashley. I am not going to do it for $30.
You're the worst, Bob.
So do these examples work? Yes, sort of. All of these things can certainly be said. They're not wrong per se, but for a couple of them, the meaning does change quite a lot. Let's break it down. Ashley's offer in this scenario is much more aggressive. It's as if she already planned to pay Bob $50 to babysit for her.
I'm going to give you $50 for one night of babysitting.
She didn't consider whether or not he would say yes or no. This was her plan. And if Bob refuses, it's going to inconvenience her. It's going to ruin her plan. I think the promise is actually pretty similar in meaning. I think it works well.
I promise I'm going to pay you, Bob.
The slight difference here is what we already talked about regarding decisions. This makes it seem like she already decided to pay Bob before speaking, rather than making a promise to pay him as she speaks. Ashley's request, however, is very different, and it sounds weird in this context. In fact, I would say it does not work.
Are you going to do it for $30?
In this case, it's not so much a request as it is Ashley asking Bob if he's planning to babysit for her. It comes across as a demand almost. It's very aggressive. Finally, Bob's refusal sounds very similar, and it works just fine.
No, Ashley. I am not going to do it for $30.
Again, the subtle difference is that this could imply that Bob decided he would not babysit for only $30 before the time of speaking. So to summarize, we can easily make promises or refusals using be going to. Using be going to with an offer sounds very aggressive, so you probably shouldn't do it. And you certainly shouldn't use be going to for requests, because again, it's very aggressive and it sounds weird. Now for a quick practice, see if you can guess the best answer for this question. What are your plans this weekend? Is it A, I will watch a movie and cuddle with my cat, or B, I am going to watch a movie and cuddle with my cat? Write your answer in the comments below, along with any other questions you have for me.
I really love our snowman, man.
Yeah, he's great. What do you think he'll be doing when we get home later?
Oh, I imagine he'll just be sitting here, although he might be lonelier.
Yeah, I bet he'll be thinking about us.
What do you imagine he will be doing this time tomorrow?
Well, tomorrow is a warm day. Sadly, he will be melting.
It is sad, but I'm glad he's here now. And what about you? What will you be doing tomorrow afternoon?
I think I'll be walking out here again. I enjoy walking. Will you be walking with me?
I think I will, Bob. I think I'll be walking right next to you.
Basically, the future continuous tense acts in the same way as the present continuous, except it happens later, in the future. Right now, I am talking to you. Tonight, I will be sleeping. Note that since we're using a continuous form, the ing form, this should refer to an action that happens over a period of time. It shouldn't be a quick action. Just like with the present continuous, if I do say a quick action like a snap, tomorrow I will be snapping, the listener will assume that I will be snapping over and over and over and over again. We use the future continuous to talk about what we believe or what we predict will be happening, usually at a specific period of time.
What will you be doing tomorrow afternoon?
I think I'll be walking out here again.
Tomorrow at 6 a.m., I'll be climbing at the rock climbing gym. Tomorrow around 8 a.m., I'll be sitting here drinking coffee. We can also use it for overlapping action when we're talking about what will be happening while something else is happening.
What do you think he'll be doing when we get home later?
Oh, I imagine he'll just be sitting here.
While I'm climbing at the rock gym, my wife will be sleeping. While I'm here drinking coffee, my wife will be driving to work. So just to review, we use the future continuous tense to talk about future predictions or plans, what we believe or what we plan we will be doing or someone will be doing. And we use it to talk about overlapping actions, what will be happening while something else is happening. Just like we can use the present perfect to talk about how long an action has taken. I have lived here for 60 years. Not true. We can use the future perfect tense to talk about how long an action has happened in the future. Once we get to that point in the future, using that future time word. For example, I have lived in Colorado for 14 months. By this time, next month, I will have lived in Colorado for 15 months. You'll notice that I use for in both of these examples, just like we normally do. When we're talking about how long, it's common to use for. Now with the future perfect tense, we could use since, but it would be kind of weird because I have lived in Colorado since April of 2020. By this time next month, I will have lived in Colorado since April of 2020. Since refers to a starting time, it's not going to change in the future, so there's no reason that we would ever use since with the future perfect. You could do it. It's not grammatically incorrect, but it doesn't really make any sense. We can also use the future perfect tense with a future time word to say that a certain action will finish before that time. It doesn't specify when the action will finish, but we know it will finish before that time. For example, by the time I finish filming this, I will have drunk all my water. That's a promise. By this time next week, I will have shaved my head. I'm serious. My hair is falling out. I'm going bald. I need to accept it. So by this time next week, I will have shaved my head. You'll see. You'll see in some upcoming videos. You'll notice in both of these examples, I used the word by. It's very common to use by with the future perfect tense when we're talking about something that will be finished by a certain time. And those are the two main ways we use the future perfect tense to talk about how long an action will have continued up until a certain point, and to give a deadline for when something will be finished without specifying when it will be finished. Next year, I will have been teaching English for over 8 years. When my wife gets home later, I'll have been working all day, so I'm going to be pretty worn out. These are both examples of the future perfect continuous tense. We use the future perfect continuous tense in two main ways. Firstly, we use it to talk about how long an action will have been going on. So just like we use the present perfect continuous to talk about how long an action has been going on. For example, I have been talking to you for about 42 seconds. In 10 more seconds, I will have been talking to you for about 52 seconds. Now, if you watched my video on the future perfect tense, you're going to notice that this is the same first use. However, you will also notice that in that video, I was only using stative verbs because we don't usually use stative verbs in the continuous form. Why would we use the future perfect continuous tense to talk about how long something will have been happening? Maybe if it's a nice number, like maybe you've been working at your job for 11 months and you're excited about working there for a year. So you could say, by this time next month, I will have been working here for a whole year. We also use the future perfect continuous tense to talk about what action will have been happening before something else happened, usually to set up the situation or to forewarn or to give some sort of context to somebody. Like I said, when my wife gets home, I will have been working all day, so I'll be tired. Now she knows this, but if she didn't know this, maybe I could tell her so that way she wouldn't expect me to be full of energy and ready to party. Think of it as a projection into the future version of the way we use the past perfect continuous to set up a story. So if you remember from my past perfect continuous video, you might remember that when we're preparing a story, we might say something like, it had been raining all day, just to set the mood for the story. We can do this in the same fashion. And those are the two main uses of the future perfect continuous tense. Again, we use it to talk about how long an action will have been happening at a point in the future, or we use it to set the scene or prepare someone, let them know what will have been happening right before something else happened. And just to warn you, by the time this video is over, I will have been sitting here with this light in my face for over an hour, so if I'm blinking a lot, that might be the reason.